While we didn't get 733 just yet, 732E just landed recently on the main client, and with it, Muerta was unleashed into the game. Many players are trying to figure out various ways to play this new addition to the roster. This episode of LfP is going to look at Qojqva in particular, and how he makes use of this hero on the mid lane. Okay, so here we have Qojqva, of course, on Muerta, the new hero, which most of you will have seen, of course, being that, well, she's been on the cooker for quite a while. And we're gonna see initial block here coming out from Qojqva. Pretty standard stuff, but a good block nonetheless, which is gonna give him an advantage over Lina. So we're gonna spend most of the early, like roughly 10 minutes of this replay, pretty much talking about the laning aspect of Muerta, because she's a very, very interesting hero. That's definitely gonna be what I would say the focal point of this entire LfP episode this time around. So he is going to be up against Lina, and as we can see, he's going to start by having the lane come into his tower here. And Lina, of course, has been nerfed quite a lot. She is nowhere near as strong as she was before, but she is still Lina. She has insanely good range and whatnot. So what we're going to see here, in particular from Qojqva, is that he's making a lot of use out of Muerta's Deadshot. It's very versatile, and it really helps a lot with getting last hits and just being obnoxious on lane. And we're gonna see this trend that a lot of high-level players do, where they really want this range creep here, which he's gonna deny. As you can see, he makes sure Lina can't get it, and then stops her, and then he denies it. And we're gonna see him attempt to do this a lot of the times as well to get his own range creep, which is gonna give him an advantage, a little bit of a cheeky clap there. So yeah, it's really smart. It's like you see a lot of heroes really do that. For example, you know, Lina will use her Dragon Slave to harass at the same time as getting a bit of damage or last hit a range creep. Muerta can again stop her entirely. Ooh, a little bit sad there. Muerta can, you know, do a fear, not really a stun, but a fear, which will result in her actually being able to deny as well, which Lina can't do that in the same way. She'd have to land her stun for that to happen. So we will already be seeing here, one of the good things about Muerta as a hero is that her animation and range is actually fantastic, especially if we look at like the projectile. As you can see, whenever Qojqva shoots, you can see just how fast it is. It's really, really, really good. It's actually one of the best parts about the hero. And if we move here, we can see Qojqva is winning quite consistently here. One more last hit, 4 denies, and you know, that's range creeps on top of it. So a bit of a sad thing happens here, in that he's getting a bit low on HP, which is not really anything new when you're against Lina in particular. Worth mentioning is also, like, as we're just having this laning stage continue, that a lot of people are still figuring out how to spin Muerta. I think most of us agree that when she came out, we was thinking, okay, it's going to be a carry. Even the splash screen itself says she's a carry. But seemingly the most powerful way, again, good pot here from him to keep him alive just for a little bit longer. Seemingly the most popular way of playing the hero right now is really basically neglecting Gunslinger entirely. We're going to see Qojqva go into Deadshot on the calling. And we'll see how that pays dividends later in the game. So it's really, really interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised personally if we see a buff heading towards the hero. Depending on what Val wants to do with her, of course. We'll see. But for now, we're going to focus on what Qojqva is doing, which he is going to do, I want to say, like a kill build from it, which is very interesting. So it's pretty much standard. And now, of course, Lina is becoming more annoying for him because she's getting more and more levels. But we see him pretty much doing the same thing, using that shot as a method of surviving the lane. And again, that range she has is really, really good. But it is very, very hard to stop Lina as she gets more and more points in her skills because she does so much damage as she does. Interestingly, the first item that Qojqva is going to go for is going to be Falcon Blade, which is good. And here we can see how annoying her calling can actually be. It's actually an extremely good laning tool. You can really, really farm fast with it. And we're going to see it a bit later. He's going to do a combo on Lina, and that's what skilling like this affords you on Muerta. Again, people really seem averse to using Gunslinger, and it is a bit of a weird ability. when combined with the rest of her skills. It scales better later into the game. And you see, he keeps shooting. But it's a fairly standard lane. It's a bit of back and forth, with mostly... They're pretty even. A few more denies, a few more on Qojqva, a few more last hits on Lina. He's getting harassed quite a bit. But what we're gonna see here is there's gonna be a attempt on Qojqva's life, and he's gonna barely survive. Again, he is being very, very smart with that shot. So here Lina is going to apply a lot of pressure. And this is very close, and he's just barely gonna survive. It's very, very close to him dying. And he is forced to run back this time, which kind of sucks. But he is going to get Falcon Blade delivered, which is nice. But yeah, it's really, really hard. Even though he was winning that initial first 2 or 3 minutes, as soon as we see Lina get a few more levels, her damage just starts outdoing Muerta. But there's good news ahead. We're going to speed up a little bit. We're going to have a combo, and this is the first really interesting thing that happens in this video, really. Is that we're going to see exactly how Muerta can utilize this calling combo. Because he is going to do just that on Lina. And we're going to see here, which is interesting, I'm actually going to pause. Notice how he got level 6 here, but he did not skill ultimate. And that seems to be the trend, because like I've done a lot of research on Muerta, just because it's interesting, this new hero entering the meta. And there's been all sorts of build for Muerta, and this is a cool thing when a new hero comes around, especially when it's as diverse as Muerta is. Even between pros, it's very, very common that nobody inherently agrees on like, this is the best build, and Muerta is in exactly that spot where it's not really a predefined build where it's like, this is just the way you play her. But we see people do this thing where they really deny Gunslinger and they just max calling and Deadshot, and here we do see that he even says, damn it, I'm not going to make use of Pierce the Veil, because Pierce the Veil is in a bit of a weird spot as an ability, but we'll get to that. So here we're going to see, though, that he's going to make use out of that skill point, because he is going to do calling here. And notice here, here's the unique thing. So the ghosts spawn like this, and they do a lot of damage, and they do silence, and Lina slowed within. But the cool part, and this is such a cool part about Muerta, is, oops, we're just gonna go back here, is that he's gonna do a shot there that ricochets from the creep here to Lina, and you can see she gets feared, and she gets thrown back into the calling here, which is just so cool. Very, very neat. Now, he isn't going to get the kill. There's an Undyne coming in. But that was still a good attempt. And it really... that right there showcases what I would argue is probably the strongest part about Muerta. Yeah, she can end up doing a lot of damage late game for sure. But I really like this combo thing they've done with her as a hero. It's really, really fascinating. Like, you making calling, and then people obviously want to get out of it because it's scary to be inside of it, but you can then drag them back in again by utilizing either a tree or a creep or another hero to ricochet a bullet and force them back in again. Really, really cool stuff. You're going to see some really, really interesting kill combos happening later, for sure. Now, we are going to have a Tony gank here. As you can see, Tony is here, and there is a Rubik as well. So we're gonna see here, he's gonna come in with Muerta, and here you're gonna see the calling. And this is obviously going to kill. So I'm gonna briefly pause here, because I very, very quickly want to talk about Quick Cast. So a lot of people use Quick Cast. Quick Cast is just the idea of you pressing a button, and then you immediately get, the spell that you are quick casting. There are a few heroes where you might consider not using Quick Cast, or at the very least start by not using Quick Cast, because you need to learn their spell. One of the interesting things is that Muerta is actually a little bit like Willow in that aspect, where her roses that you root people to the ground, Muerta's calling is sort of similar, although Willow starts with her roses spawning inwards and then outwards, and then they root. Her ghosts are instant, and if you press calling and you see the radius of it, you can see exactly where the ghosts spawn. And because they're instant, you basically have access to an instant silence. I make a big deal out of this because we're going to see Qojqva do that over and over and over and over again in this game, because that is his kill combo. He needs to insta-silence with his team so he can set it up with Deadshot and the rest of his team. It's one of the best things. It's almost like a Gust from Drow as another ranged hero, but it's instant, and it also does damage. So, just of note. that if you want to try and replicate what Qojqva is doing here, you will have a much easier time, probably, initially, if you turn off Quick Cast, assuming you use Quick Cast in the first place. But just know that these ghosts spawn in a very specific manner, and you can make use out of it. That's it. Worth noting, we're all learning 0 right now, so. We're going to speed up a little bit here. Again, there are going to be times where not too much is happening. Now, sad thing happens here is that Qojqva is going to predict for a rune here, and he isn't going to find it, which is a little bit on the sad side, but that is just how it goes sometimes. Again, just farming. Lina's not here. There's something happening here, but again, we are mostly going to focus on Qojqva. You can see he gets a shot in there. Nothing too particular. He's mostly here because he also wants to secure rune. But he can help his team with that shot, and we are going to be seeing that a lot. So here, we're going to see what I was talking about. He's going to wait. He wants this rune in particular. Now, a DD is going to spawn, but it's not going to be for Qojqva. It's going to be up here. Tiny, luckily, is a good boy, and he does deny that. So a bit sad, because granted, he doesn't have ultimate. It still would be... He would have huge kill potential on Lina if he grabbed one, because he could do his calling combo into a dead shot and then right-click Lina as she is forced into calling, and he would for sure kill her, even without ulti. Muerta still hurts. So, a bit sad, but, you know, it is what it is. RNG is a large part of so many parts of this game in general. So, bit more laning. And we're going to see here that he is eyeing around on the map, seeing what's happening. We are going to see now that Qojqva is going to go ultimate. So he basically goes 4-3, a 0, and then 1. So he does opt into that. Again, much like if you observe any kind of pro player, you are going to, there we go. If you observe any kind of pro player, you'll see this camera panning all around on the map, which showcases that they're aware of what's happening to their team, they're making plans. It's so cool. It's very, very important. It's just, oof, I goosebumps almost. It's awesome to see these people being so aware of like the playing field and making ideas with it. As you can see here, a bit of an overlap here. He could have waited a little bit, but he shoots the creep, which hits Lina here, as you can see. And here we go with calling. Very, very scary. As you can see, a lot of damage, and Lina does die. That's exactly it. There's so much potential here. I think calling, the ghost, the calling, let's just call it calling, it has so much potential with the right support. Like something like Venge, where it's just a point click and stun, or Lion, you can just set it up like this. It's really, really scary. Again, Tiny also worked just fine. Again, not a single point in Gunslinger, which is interesting because one of the things we see a lot on Muerta right now is that people try to play her as mid, some people are trying to play as a support, some people are trying to play as a carry. And these more mid and support-oriented builds we're seeing coming from people is people maxing these two skills, and sometimes, just like Qojqva, not even getting ult very early. And they just completely negate Gunslinger, whereas carries tend to try and get Gunslinger as fast as possible because it's their method of farming. But that seems to not have worked out too well for the hero, which is where she feels a little bit on the weaker side. But we will see her work here. And he is going to port here, and he is going to go for a kill on Dragon Knight, which, you know, spoiler, is going to work. You see him here, and again, bonk. That is a fear, which counts as a stun here. And here we see calling. And it's so annoying to fight into. This silence for so long. And it does last for 10 seconds. So, but it is very costly. Again, 225 mana at max level is very, very, very... Just a lot, really. So here we're going to see an interesting part of Muerta, and this is like... This is both a positive and a negative. It depends on who you ask. We're going to see Qojqva mess up a dead shot, that's a fundamental part of Muerta, and when you mess it up, then you also mess a kill. It's pretty much just as bad as messing up, a light strike array from Lina. You miss out on a kill for doing that. As we can see here, we're going to see the two of them come in here and calling here. Again, this is how I know that Qojqva isn't, he probably isn't using, I can't say for certain, but he probably isn't using quick cast. He clearly is insta-silencing, sorry, because the ghost will spawn. Now I can't ping, but like in this formation, like a 1, 2, 3, 4 formation like this, like a square. And he is silencing Lina intentionally from the start, which is very, very smart. Remember, this is a 3-second silence, and it is 135 damage. So it is really, really, really good. just silencing a hero for 3 seconds like that. So we're going to see him do that very intentionally. Now Rubica's going to lift her. And here's the sad part. He uses this tree here. And he misses. Which is a shame. Big shame. Because that would 100% have been a kill. And if we just rewind here, I don't do that a lot when I do these replays, but it is, oh, sorry about that. Like, you know, replay system, the game is in beta, you know. Oh, yeah, as you can see. Sorry about that. It's just, yeah, the replay system needs some work. We could really use an update for that. So if we see here, again, we're going to see, misses her just barely. And the reason why I wanted to like show this again is because it is interesting. Because this is the coolest part about Muerta, I think, at least right now in her current iteration, personally, is that much like a hero like Timbersaw, you have all of these avenues for plays you can do, because we got to look at what can Deadshot do here, right? Like you have to like, you can shoot it on another hero, you can shoot it on the one hero you want to do damage on, or like another hero, and then ricochet it to another hero, or you can use trees. He chose this tree in Miss Lena. He could have chosen this tree, this tree, this tree. He could have chosen any tree he could have had in range here. And he could basically, depending on like where he ricochets the shot, he can then force Lena in the direction. If he had landed this way, because it went 1, 2 like that, Lena would either have run down here or probably this way because she gets feared in that direction. So it's a bit of shame. So what you can do with Muerta, because he could definitely have like done a bit of like a safer to land shot. It was quite far away from him. You have to remember like Deadshot has to travel to the destination first and then travel to the ricochet destination as well. He could have done a shot where Lena was running, like she was running towards the staircase. So he could have shot ahead of Lena and then towards the staircase and then back at her that way. But again, it's still very, very early for the hero, and this is honestly what makes her really, really fun, is these decisions. And it does end up with her not dying. But yeah, I hope I don't have to like jump around in the replay too much. I don't like doing that as I do these reads, but I also do not like to see the clothes just go all over the place as I'm doing it either. But you know, hopefully we get a spring cleaning update or something. It's been like this for, gosh, I don't know. I mean, you play Dota, I play Dota, you know how it is. It's just how it is. I mean, we still have heroes going bald. I don't know, this has been going on for like at least a year, yeah? Something like that. So we're going to see a bit of pressure on tier 1 here, which is really, really nice. Again, I always appreciate that, especially early. Again, as I normally say, most important tower in the game, so putting pressure on is good. Worth noting here, he shoots here. Have to remember, Deadshot also gives vision. So Deadshot, while expensive to do, is really, really good at garnering vision and finding out where people are. If you have a sneaking suspicion someone's trying to gank you, or someone is hiding here, or just a teammate could be in danger if someone is here, you can literally just shoot. And if it gives you small vision, you will see if someone is there. And that's just really, really good. It's a small thing. Very, very nice, because he does see them here. Again, we are going to be talking more about what he's doing here. I'm going to wait a little bit. But we're basically going to talk later in the game about how good calling actually is, which is really, really interesting. Again, pressure, 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 pressure. Very, very good, very low. There's no train in this game, so this is very nice. There's no way they can heal it. And they are going to bail off. But yeah, very, very worth it. And we are going to have a bit of a mid-scuffle here happening as well in just a moment. And we're going to basically see what happens here from Qojqva. And again, we haven't really seen ult. He does hit Dragonite. You can see Undying coming in from the side here. And an annoying Dragonite. And Tiny tries something there. He wanted to clearly throw back. He gets rooted, and again, he gets feared. Gotta be very careful. Like, Muerta's still a... people think she's an agility hero, but she's an intelligence hero, and she's not super duper tanky, so you gotta be very, very, very careful. You see Tiny in complete trouble, but Qojqva is in a safe range here. He can use a dead shot, but this is still very, very, very scary. So, very, very sad for him. And we are gonna see here that he is a bit... He gets seen here, and this is too bad. Misses that shot, gets rooted, and that's just it. And we have the Meteor Hammer combo that's become quite popular on Dragonite. Just kill him off. But there is some good news. Well, first and foremost, Juggernaut, which is going to be a massive baller this entire game, by the way. Juggernaut playing really, really well. Although we are going to focus on Muerta and Qojqva. He did get BOT. And this is interesting because it affords him the luxury of just running around the map and mending lanes and whatnot. And we're going to be seeing him do that quite a bit this lane. It also means we're going to see his camera pan around quite a lot because with BOT, he's able to, you know, do just that. He can go bot now, he can go mid, he can go top. It depends on what Qojqva actually feels like. You see, he does port mid. And he sees that tower and he's like, ooh, that would be delicious if he could get that, right? And he does have Tiny with him. So there is clearly an opportunity, right? Just has to go for it. As we can see. Again, oh, that's dangerously close. He really wants that too. You can see how his camera is just panning. And it makes sense. Because enemy doesn't want to deny it. That's just how important that tower is. Keeping it alive so they can. So they are gonna glyph it here, which is cheeky. And again, the way he's using calling, let me just pause here, is really, really interesting. You have to remember that calling lasts for a whopping 10 seconds. Like, this is really, really good. It just lasts for a very, very long time, which means that you can use it very, very defensively. Like, you can use it as a precaution spell if you're pushing up here, a bit like, you know, Monkey's ultimate, for an example, where if people go in and fight you, they can get silenced, they will get slowed. It's just really annoying, and 10 seconds is a long time in Dota time, really. So he will feel very, very safe in there, and they do get the tower, which is very, very good. And we're gonna see here, moving ahead a little bit, he's gonna walk bot to farm. Again, like I said, we're gonna see stuff like this. Now Qojqva's gonna basically be playing the map quite a lot now that he has BOT. He has the luxury of quite a lot of range on Muerta, so he can basically port and join in from a distance when he wants. And when that isn't an option, like here, it's a bit scary, he will just basically stick to farming mostly. So a fight is kind of happening here. You can see he ports mid, goes for rune. But other than that, this is mostly just, you know, he's mostly just mending lanes here. And farming. So he's gonna go with his team here in a moment because we have Rubik coming in. No smoke here, but they are gonna go in. So now they see Lina here, and obviously they want to kill Lina because Lina's a very juicy target. But it's not gonna happen, sadly. And this is actually, let me just pause briefly again. This is actually one of, as someone that has been experimenting with Muerta quite a bit myself. This is one of the few things you'll run into if you've also played her. I'm sure you can attest to this. You want to stun a target, and preferably you want to ricochet a shot in this fashion. So Lina's here, so you can hit her. Like, you can totally like hit there, ricochet over on Lina, and it's gonna hit. The problem is that the way that shot works is that it ricochets the target in the opposite direction of where you're hit. So if you just hit from here to here, you hit Lina, but she gets feared here, which that does you no good because then she runs back to safety, which means you will not get a kill. So ideally what you want to do is before Lina starts pulling back here, you want to hit this tree and then hit Lina in the back because Lina walks towards you and then dies. The problem is that people have figured this out, and just like everyone, not just pros really, but people have figured this out really, really fast, which means this has become exceedingly hard to do. I find myself in a lot of games where I played her as well, where it's like, I just want to hit people in the back and drag them into my team, a bit like a tusk kick or something similar, or like an Earth Spirit kick, bring them into my team, and it's just really hard to execute. People have gotten really, really smart with this already, which is super annoying. It's a bit sad, but it is a very powerful ability. So they are going to find Abaddon here, which is yum, 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 yum. Can't get much better than that. And that is going to be a kill. And there you go. That's exactly what I was showcasing. He ricochets a shot here into the calling and forces Abaddon to stay here. It's exactly what's so annoying. You're just so slow. It's very powerful. And remember, if people want to help the target that's being dead shot around in the calling, they themselves have to enter the calling as well. So it is a powerful ability. And again, looking at, you know, the skills here, we have 1 in alt. We have 4/4, so that's 9, and then now he's taking that shot damage. There's still not a single point in Gunslinger. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, she is a weird hero. So we're gonna get some pressure on the tower here. I'm gonna speed up here. And there's a fight that's gonna bring out here. where DK and Undying is going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
And you can see critical distance, he's staying far away. You gotta be careful again. Remember, Muerta is a ranged hero. She does have 2.0 strength gain, but she is rather brittle when she doesn't have her ultimate in particular. And even when she has her ultimate, if you have a Laguna Blade or something, she can still die very quickly. So we are gonna see Qojqva adopt this very critical distance, a bit like a sniper or a drow, where he's gonna mostly try anyway, because he's gonna die a few times before he's out of position, of staying in a range where he can use that shot, but also be safe from enemy. And you see here, bang, just like that. Alina there. And again there, he could have saved that shot there and then messed around with Lina instead, but he did go for the kill here. And there's the calling. And again, it's very scary to fight into. It's like, ooh, it's so annoying. Like you would prefer not to touch it if you can help it. So basically it was a combination of calling and deadshot. He can deny quite a bit of an area and then still be obnoxious that way. Now he does have Gunslinger now, 20%. It's he doesn't have too much like that blades around it though. He has no Maelstrom or anything like it, because we also see people do Maelstrom builds on her, and I don't want to. It's too early for me to say it's bad or anything. It's just I personally don't think Muerta is that good of a carry, but it's early to say. And I have seen this Maelstrom thing. I've tried it myself. It's we'll see what's in store. I am fairly certain she is going to have some buffs coming her way. But as it stands, is also why I wanted to showcase this footage in particular. This is the strongest I probably have seen Muerta, is when she's able to use that shot on the calling together with her team in a very, I want to say, tempo fashion. But there's a fight here. And again, this is a fight, especially as Muerta. You can't really do anything. He needs to be careful because he's not strong enough to just like jump in and like kill things as a mid-hero. He has to stand at a distance. And I mentioned we were going to talk about this, so now's as good a time as any. So what you'll see a lot, and what I've observed as well, is the calling is actually really, really good for farming, and it's extremely good for pushing lanes and staying safe. So there's quite a lot of times in Dota where you want to shove a lane, or you want to, defend a tower, and physically doing that. For example, let's say you're Snapfire. In order to pretty much deal with a lane, you have to cookie, or you have to go and do a shotgun, which might put you in a precarious position. The good part about the calling is that it has a fairly decent cast range, and the ghosts run on a repeated path, and they do a lot of damage. So what you see a lot of Muertas, including Qojqva, do is they'll use calling as a method of pushing, and then they'll run / retreat into safety, which is really, really smart. You can also do this with a camp if you are farming neutrals. Heck, if you have, let's just say a camp like this is triple stacked, you can quite literally just do the calling and like run them around in a circle, and the calling will kill all of the creeps before it's over. It does a lot of damage for that, so it's really cool to see people make use out of this. And again, we are going to see Qojqva port around, play the map, using the most of his BOT. And you can see he's very mana intensive hero. So he has to, like, when he's putting around like this, he has to eventually go back to base because it's just so expensive. And that is with his team having mana boots as well. So, what do you see here? Playing the map, being obnoxious. A good thing for him is that the Juggernaut really does play well on this. And you see he is, he wanted to push that, but now he's going back to base. So technically he could have waited a little bit and done calling here and then run back, but it is dangerous. But yeah, I do like this idea of Muerta, of like making her a hero that helps from a distance. But she isn't a very, she doesn't feel like a very bombastic mid-hero like Storm, you know, zips in and just destroys everything. Again, we'll have to see. It really is interesting how things are evolving here. Now he is keeping eyes on his team here. And again, I've covered quite a few pros by now. Common theme we'll see with these pros is that as they're farming, they're looking around on the map and they're finding out, okay, how can I help? And we're really going to bite into this because this is where his BOT really, they really give him dividends because it affords him to come in and help his team. And again, he wants to be at that critical distance. He would prefer not to go into a team fight first because he is a range hero. He does feel a little bit like a sniper. He does feel like a little bit like a drow. So we are going to see Qojqva here. He wants to really port, and he is going to port here. And that's perfect for him because, again, he has ultimate, he has calling, he has deadshot, he can help his team from a distance. As we can see here, he comes in. And you see, again, it gives vision. It is really good like that, but he has to be very, very careful. If he gets if he gets rooted, he dies really, really quick. Luckily, he is helping his team, and he is spreading the enemy this way. Okay. Now they are gonna apply quite a lot of pressure here. And we're gonna see Hasted, Qojqva coming in here. Again, the calling is annoying. Does pop ultimate. He fears here. And we're gonna let them finish this dive here, and Willow is going to buy back. Very powerful. And they sense opportunity, and they do retreat here, which is really, really, really smart. Excuse me. So with that fight over, what I briefly want to talk about is one of the things that are very weird about Muerta right now is her ultimate. It's actually very, very powerful, and it has some insanely cool applications into the game itself, but it feels very slow. Now it has a very, very low cooldown, 75, 60, 45 is actually insane. See if there's a ward up there. Again, using dead shot. But it feels really, really slow. Now luckily here, when we saw him ult, he was hasted, so it made it look even better, but it's a very weird thing with Muerta. It feels kind of strange. Personally, I really think they should consider buffing it in some way. Remember that Medusa did have this exact scenario where she would ult and then people would just run away, and it was like, oh, that's just it. And then they ended up giving her an insane amount of movement speed when she ults, just so she can actually run into the enemy and be a threat. We'll see. Again, I have no doubt that she is really going to get buffs, I think. I'm very, very curious to see which direction they're going to go in that time. We'll see a bit of an attempt here. Enemy comes in bonking. Let me cook. It is Qojqva, don't worry. His next item after his beauty is going to be a Yasha and a Kaya. And he's going Maelstrom now, which is kind of a peculiar choice, but it is very, very powerful on her. A lot of people will get Maelstrom early on Muerta because it pretty much lets them farm a lot easier with Gunslinger. But again, that is not what Qojqva was gone for. From the start, he went for the calling combo, which is, you know, big kill potential. And you can see here, almost a kill on Jug, but not quite because it wasn't a stun. And again, playing that distance here, we're going to see him use calling. And again, like I said, Jug just very powerful. And again, look at that critical range. There you go, click right there. And again, that was a beautiful one. He landed him right here. The hero runs into obstacle here, then starts running around because it's trying to find him. And this is going to be a complete train wreck. And you can see he waits with ulting until the very end, where he knows he finally can get the most of the damage from it. Because in the current iteration of Muerta, that's a complete team wipe also. We don't talk about that. That was a bit sad. He went to port, but he ported on a creep that died instantly. With the current iteration of Muerta, it feels like your options for using Pierce the Veil very early are very limited. So you really gotta pick your times to do it. Like, you either gotta do it defensively when people try to kill you and you can survive because you become, you don't take physical damage. Again, he did it here with the team having used most of their stuff and him finally coming in from a favorable position. They're gonna go for Roche. Makes sense. As we can see. And again, here, it's mostly just going to be I want to call that macro game, where his team is going to be 7k ahead here after they kill Roshan, and they're pretty much just going to play the lead. Now, the good part for Qojqva is he's going to push the map. He's going to make sure that the enemy can't just push and take towers unnecessarily. And he has a very, very frontal, cool Juggernaut player, which affords him to, again, sit in the distance and be obnoxious with a combination of calling and deadshot mostly. Now he does finish Maelstrom. Powerful as it is. It really does fit her. Let's see here. Farming. Let's see. One thing to note, actually, gonna pause here. If you do decide to play Muerta, either as a support or actually as any role, but if you play her as, especially like if you just find yourself in a position here, her ricochet from Deadshot is actually extremely good at stacking. For an example, if I just move over here and I put this in free camera. So if you have these two camps, for an example here, you can pretty much shoot a creep here and have it ricochet, so 1-2, like that, boom, boom. And you can do that at about 53 to 54 minutes, and both creep camps will pull, and you can then move here, and you're basically stacking 2 creeps camps up 1. And that works as carry or support. It's just, you know, make the most out of it. It really is a unique, cool ability, and it affords you a lot of interesting plays, you know? We're all here to figure out Muerta in the end, and she's very interesting. And again, comes here into, you know, joining his Juggernaut, and again, notice how the first thing he does is go back a little bit. He wants to be in that critical position. Doesn't want to help his team. Moves down here. Let's see, it's scary. And again, he doesn't have anything bombastic. He's not like a Storm with a BKB that can like just sip in and like get a kill on anyone. He has to play this distance. He has to wait until his Juggernaut is there. It is a weird thing with her. And you see, he is there. It's not like he wants to retreat. It's not like he's scared. It's not, well, I mean, he is scared, but he's not averse to helping. That's gonna be a kill. And Qojqva really playing aggressive, and that's good for Qojqva because he can make use of it. Look at that camera. Again, that shot. He really wants. He's thinking about it, and that is the first time we're gonna see him being completely out of position. He's gonna die right there, and that's exactly it. Now, what happened here was that Dragonite was here, and he clearly thought his team was right behind him, and he was, well, he was wrong. This happens to the best of us. And he just dies, which is really sad. And it showcases just how quickly you can die with Muerta. You gotta be very, very careful. You can see his camera's like, what? Where's my team? Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Qojqva was streaming at this point. He was like, what the hell on stream? Here's what happens. We're gonna skip ahead here. Again, we are gonna mostly focus on Qojqva. And he's gonna keep up with his team, check things out. As you can see, pressure being put on. You just see Lina there. So again, this is what he's going. Like I said, he's gonna macro most of the game. Again, I use the term macro. I think it's good for this game. He's gonna play the map most of the time and macro, and basically make sure that creep waves are attended to. And again, we're gonna see him use calling for this a lot and dead shot, obviously. So again, he is scared, or yeah, no, he's cautious and scared. He can only see Undying right now. He knows Lina is in the vicinity, so he sits in the trees down here and waits because you know he obviously wants this, but he's got to be careful. All the same. He goes on here, does that shit, and you can see it's really, really good for that. So we're gonna have a bit of an interesting interaction here. We're gonna see him see Lina. It's like, oh boy, he sees both Abaddon and Lina. That's two very, very scary heroes. Abaddon has a Manta and a Radiance, and Lina is Lina. Even in her nerf form, Lina is still strong. And you might think, ah, damn, that's it. Qojqva is dead. Nope, watch this. It's actually really interesting. So he ults. And again, remember, Abaddon can not do a whole lot. Like, he can miscoil and he has Radiance Burn, but he can't right-click. Here's the interesting part. We finally get to see the strength that is actually Pierce the Veil when it works. Notice how much damage he's gonna just ply into Lina here. Like, he would have killed Lina even without any bit of assistance. Again, he almost died. Again, the brittleness of this hero, but that right there does showcase the power that is Pierce the Veil. Like, Muerta really can dish out the damage really, really big time. She is really, really scary once she gets going, but she is very, very strange. Again, comes to help his team. And his Juggernaut does have Aegis. And again, it really, really benefits him that Juggernaut is playing this aggressive. I've said this many times, but it feels like this is kind of exactly what Muerta needs a lot. It's like she needs someone that isn't afraid to go in first so she can be obnoxious and use Pierce the Veil. Oi, oi, oi. I think I muted some of the pros in this game because like they do spam a lot of void lines. Let's see him. Again, mostly just mending lanes. Again, with his team. And again, there is that critical range again. You will see him a lot of the time be in the trees, ready to use that shot, ready to use calling. Instead of like being out here in the open. He does not want to reveal his position. Now they don't have anything. I mean, they have Dragonite, but he has to be careful. He doesn't have BKB yet. They don't have anything that can just jump and kill him instantly on average, but he still has to be careful. So. And he is. He is. Let's see. Juggernaut spinning here. And again, here's it again. Using the calling as a method of staying safe. There's a right on the middle, there's the healing ward, and then Juggernaut is safely in here on top of Aegis. This is extremely annoying to fight into. Like, if Juggernaut tried to jump in there and stun, he would, you know, be silenced. Gotta be careful. I think we're gonna see this more and more and more the more we see Muerta, where people are gonna use calling in this fashion. Almost a bit like Arc Warden Spark Wraith as well. Just only for 10 seconds and they silence. And again, he is gonna go BKB. Again, the idea being, you know, pierce the veil and BKB. Put you in a situation where people really can't touch you, on average. And we see, like, she really can farm fast when she gets to the point. One thing he's lagging now is attack speed, but again, like I said earlier, he never really optimized for doing right-click damage. He is optimized for this long distance fighting. And now we're going to see exactly what I was talking about. He doesn't know where the enemy heroes are right here. This is a bit of a scary position in general. So he is going to make use out of the calling. As you can see here, he's going to calling, and he's going to run back, as you can see. Shoot that. Not the best shot, but... And you can see just how good it is at pushing here. And again, if we go here, we can see Dragonite is here. We can see he's here, he's here, he's here. Like, the entire enemy team is there. So it's very safe to assume that if our smart boy Qojqva didn't use calling and didn't use Deadshot in this fashion, he would most definitely have been jumped and died. Because he doesn't have a BKB yet, and the only thing that needs to happen is this level 15 Dragonite to jump him, press Dragon Tail, and Meteor Hammer, and he's dead. Even to the point, at least if he had Shard, he could potentially even kill Muerta solo. So, very, very smart. And just making the most out of the calling. It's why I wanted to make such a big deal out of it. Because we see him do this. Like, as his team is playing the playing the opposite end of the map, he's playing this, he's being annoying, making sure, a bit like a Treant or like a Cuddle that's just sitting and blasting. And again, this is getting a little bit scary, but again, using calling again. Very, very smart. Very, 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 very smart. Good use of distance. He does see his team up there. And you can see that things are happening. And again, playing that critical range, it is always scary to go uphill where you don't know where they are. So now that he gets more and more information, he'll feel a lot safer about going in. As you can see, he's going to go in now. And we're back to him. As you can see, stunning, helping from a distance. Let's see Tiny there. Wrapping around. Seeing if you can see, he sees Abaddon again, using it as a scout tool. Because again, he hits someone, remember that he lands them in the back and they just run away. And that's just it. And we can speed up a little bit. Because like the game is mostly on rails now. As you can see, they're only getting further and further ahead. Now again, as I said, it's not Qojqva that has the most bombastic display in this game. It is by far Juggernaut that's just dominating it. But Qojqva is doing a really, really good job with Muerta. And we are seeing the strengths that this hero can give towards the team, the way he's playing. And again, it's just nice to see someone with a BOT and having the smarts and the awareness and just like the skill of mending lanes as well as Qojqva's doing. It's really, really nice because he is doing it and avoiding death right now. Quite literally. There was 4 people in his jungle and he basically prevented them from pushing a tier 2. He could just as well have died and then made the next fight a 4v5 and lost a tier 2 tower potentially. As he's moving around. He sees Abaddon here. And that is going to be a dead Abaddon. Now, a little bit risky here. Because he uses Deadshot very early. And same with Tiny Toss. So Abaddon is going to try and port out here. And this would be trouble if Snapfire wasn't here. So, whew, lucky. Again, you can see the damage there. It's definitely there. It's definitely there. But it is such an odd ability, Pierce, other than that. It really feels like you almost need a bit of movement on him. Speaking of movement, we see neither a Pike or a Blink Dagger on Muerta, which is other items you normally see on her being picked up. And again, very good catch up by Tani. Coming in with Muerta. Does shoot, does stun. Very, very good. And enemy pretty much is on their last leg here. We're going to have Undying complain for them just to end. So we're going to speed up here. So what's going to happen here is Undying is going to... Almost unmuted him. He's going to basically call fake GG and say just end the game. Yeah, hit throne please. And what's going to basically proceed to happen, because we're mostly just going to speed through it. He does get Milner. Is that this is basically a fake GG from the enemy. as they get dived in, and they are of course gonna fight back. And Qojqva is going to die here. Like I said, the combo from Dragon Knight being very, very powerful. But you know, they won. It's a bit of like a last hoorah, really. And you see, Juggernaut is very, very strong. And you see, he's just watching the Juggernaut. Again, dude's probably streaming as this game is happening, and he's like, there's Juggernaut. It's just, you know, spinning out of control, of course. He does respawn, goes mid, and again, they just kind of want to end. But in true fashion, they're actually going to hit back. And this is actually a bit of a more fairly long game. A lot of pro games actually end about 20 to 28 minutes, I find. Some of them go a bit longer. This one is a bit on the longer side, actually. Cheeky shot there. Again, you gotta be careful here. This BKB.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Again, the entire enemy team is here. But as you can see, it's very obvious they are gonna lose. Keeping the distance, using that shot. Oi oi oi. Using the calling. And he does die. And see, that's exactly it right there. Is just because you have Pierce of Veil doesn't mean jack against someone like Dragon Knight. Just jumps in, stuns, dead. So he does buy back, go up here. And his team is winning. There we go, using the shot. So, you know, not a dominating performance by Qojqva at all, but an interesting one all the same. And I did want to cover Muerta kind of in her early stages. Also, consider this a bit of a documentation for your sake and my own sake, really. In the sense of like, I'm pretty sure this hero is going to get buffed, and I want to also like just put a nail on it and be like, this is how she used to be before she got buffed. Because I am fairly confident when I say that she's going to get something. I do hope they drive her more into carry-oriented direction, but we'll have to see. As it stands, I do agree with Qojqva on this. I do think, honestly, this is the best way to play her, if you are going to play her at all, is to make use out of Deadshot and Calling, and basically help your team from a distance, as a bit of like an utility carry, really. But, decent showcase, and it is a one game, and as you can see, 11, 4, 12, nothing to scoff at. He did do quite a bit, and he did play wonderfully around his Juggernaut. A unique and powerful showcase of Muerta, given how new she is into the game still. Let's briefly look over a few things Qojqva did well in this game. Muerta is clearly a hero that thrives during the initial laning stage, and this is only more evident when we look at Qojqva playing it. He makes the most out of Muerta's kit early, especially her attack animation and projectile speed to mess up Lina. Throughout most of the game, Qojqva keeps a very critical and cautious range with Muerta. He's able to assist his team with a combination of Deadshot and the Calling this way, without putting himself in too much danger. Muerta can get blown up fairly quickly if she's out of position, which does happen a few times in this game. Whenever Qojqva isn't assisting his team from a distance, he's playing the map and making sure that creeps aren't pushing towers unnecessarily. His BOT purchase early affords him the luxury of doing this, and lets him decide when he wants to enter a team fight and when he wants to mend lanes, making sure things are pushed to him and his team's advantage. Thanks for watching the video. You can catch me live at twitch.tv/FabKabashi for more content, with new YouTube videos dropping on a weekly basis. Best of luck in 732E, and here's hoping you're able to deal with Lady Death until 733 rolls upon us in April.